Welcome to Louisiana Heartbeats. I'm Sudie Landry, and here I am again with another special guest. But this time, she's really close to my heart. Why? Because she is my sister, Mary Rabelais from Lafayette, Louisiana. And I've asked her to come on the show since she was coming to visit me anyway. So thanks, sis, for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. I'm glad to be able to be here.
Have you ever, Katie Anna, sat down and really listened to your family member and had a discussion about, especially at this age where we're no longer teenagers and we've had our lives and we've been visiting each other, and then sit down and start talking about things from your childhood that lead all the way up to your adulthood? Well, when I had a cancellation on my show, then I had a second cancellation for the next host. My sister was coming anyway, and we were having such a wonderful conversation that I thought, well, you know what? I asked her, would she be willing to come on television? Let's talk about things. We discovered that we're so different, yet we're so much alike, and that we've had from childhood to adulthood, our paths of even being professionals somehow has been familiar in areas, but yet different. So with that said, I want to kind of just sit here with my sister. We have our coffee missing, but you know what? We almost brought some crochet to sit here and talk to you while the other person was crocheting. In fact, that may even turn into another show. Okay, telling stories, sitting in a rocking chair, crocheting, and letting other people share their stories. But today, this is our story about being sisters. Okay, Mary, you were here, and you just recently retired, right?
Yes, I retired a few years ago. I was a manager of Rabbit Spears Library in Lafayette, Louisiana. I worked for 14 years in an old high school that's actually got the Johnson Branch Library that's hosted there. So yes, I have been retired and enjoying the time to be back home and doing other things.
Okay, so with that said, she became a librarian, a real librarian, but we also remembered that we were both high school librarians. We worked in the library, so we found out, wow, that was something we had in common. Then we began to talk about what happened and where our careers took us, and guess what? Then we saw that we also were not only sisters, but had become telephone operators.
That's correct.
You did what in the area of, when there were telephone operators that gave you information instead of Google? Okay.
Yes, many years ago, I graduated high school, and I came back home to my sister and her husband's home. We both applied at the telephone company. She became an informational operator, and I was long distance. And the difference was the variation. I spoke with what they call ship to shore, was talking directly to ships, directly to planes. Later in the years, it became what they call the mobile telephone, which was the new thing. So we both were in telephone operators, just in a different area.
Well, throughout this show, she will share something, then I will come back and say things like this. Okay, so you were awesome in figuring out patterns.
Right.
Which was really being gifted in math.
Right.
Where I am in the area of organization, I can take alphabet and put everything in order real fast. So right. Naturally, I qualified
right.
to be informational operator.
Correct.
Okay, so then from there, of course, we ended up marrying two Cajun guys.
That's correct.
Okay, we're from Shreveport, Louisiana, and
right.
we married two Cajun guys from Southwest Louisiana.
That's right.
And what did your husband do?
My husband actually retired from the Marines. He was in the Marines for 4 years in, 2 years inactive. When I met him, he just came back home from Pennsylvania. I came up from a visit living in Lafayette and went to listen to some music, and that's actually where I met him.
And Elvis crossed the room.
That's right. It was kind of a rough night, and all of a sudden, here comes Elvis, blue eyes and blue jeans, and that was it.
And my side of the story is my Cajun guy was going to be a barber. Now make this sense to you. He was a farm boy, but he wanted to be a barber.
Right.
So he was in Lafayette, Louisiana, Shreveport at that time, and he was going to barber school, and I was a telephone operator at that time, so that's how I met him, through a friend. So we both ended up coming back and living in Lafayette, Louisiana. Okay, I've always wanted to be a hairdresser.
Right.
Okay, so that was one of the things that later on in life I became a hairdresser, and I always loved telephone operating, but the point was they didn't have any openings for me at the time when my husband decided we were going to get married at that time. So I became a hairdresser. Now, going back to how our paths are so similar, so much alike and yet different, okay, let's go into talking about interests. Like, what are your areas of interest? What, in regards to things you do around your house?
Well, my husband is like his mother. She was an excellent cook. He loves to create, so he's actually over the years taken over more of the cooking. I love being outside, working in the garden, and I love crocheting, but more important, I like to go and find something, and what they call, the term is repurpose it. I like to maintain the history, not make it new, but make a new function out of it. So looking at it because it's of interest, it's unique, it's something you just don't go out by, makes it very much yours.
Okay.
So it's that process.
So she's into gardening, crocheting, landscaping, taking things from flea markets and adding a special touch, bringing home memories that were made many years ago by other people,
Right.
sharing those memories she came to visit me, and sometimes she brings me something that she has in her up in the attic, and that's a memory there.
Right.
So on the flip side, I love taking what someone else grew, and I love canning. I love cooking. I love baking, nothing fancy, but it tastes good. It's ugly, but it tastes good. I love doing stuff like that, and I admire people who have that talent. You go and you repurpose ideas like that, where my interest is taking someone out there who has a great story that nobody else wants to listen to, finding a way to encourage that person to write that story, or better yet, have that person come on this show and showcase them and encourage them, and eventually they may write, they may publish, or they may just have their own television show. So in a way, I guess I'm repurposing and helping other people's dreams come true, and that's what it's all about, because I guarantee you, this sister came down, Mary came down, my daughter loves gardening, but really didn't know a whole lot about it. Guys, you got to check out Facebook, because let me tell you what, this woman and my daughter took ice chests and put holes in them and repurposed old containers around there, and did the whatever, preparing the soil, and I have never seen plants that looked like they'd grown overnight. Seriously? And it was interesting.
It was.
You made it interesting.
It's taking what you have. You think you have to go out and buy stuff. If you walk around, look in your yard, look in your house, you can begin from the bottom, remove what's there, and then start the plan and let it develop, because it becomes they become part of the process. And it's not what it's planted in, because you're trying to create a healthy plant. But what you have, the containers don't matter as long as they suit the purpose. You create uniqueness because it's something you already had.
Now, I have to admit, I have to add this to you guys. There's a lady that lives next door to my daughter, and I live in a little outdoor kitchen behind my daughter's trailer. And that lady has a green thumb, and anything she puts in the ground, it grows. Well, my sister here, Mary, it's the same thing, but they work real hard. The lady next door was so fascinated by all those containers that she came over to see what was happening, and she actually liked the idea.
Yes.
And she's a super nice lady and neighbor, and to hear her be impressed with what was happening, she says she's going to keep tabs on it. And I believe my daughter's going to have a really successful garden this year, because you were actually giving her classes. I think that's what she said.
That's what she called it. But even in anything, I find if you're going to recreate, is to add something of interest, like the beautiful metal butterfly that may have come home with me and went in my garden. then was put into the garden using the shelving you had. It kept it, it broke it up and gave it a uniqueness that it would not have had, but still there were those things that were there. So
What
it's
I
like,
want
it's like drawing.
to, as we're sitting here, I'm also going to bring up something that there's a new organization coming up in Lafayette that I've been asked to head called the Happiness Project. I'm going to go ahead and share. Marlene King has invited me to spearhead it with her. And my sister being here and us talking about different things and sharing what makes her happy or keeps her busy, it's giving you a glimpse into ideas that maybe we may just talk about today that you may not have thought about, and you may be interested in when you have those down moments of what am I going to do, or maybe like we're sitting and we're talking and reminiscing and we're actually doing crocheted Afghan squares for a friend who actually puts it together and makes huge blankets and things. So we're being productive and yet we're having a good time. I want to quote Mary Rabelais right now in something she said. Remember to have time to play.
Right.
Don't know if it's your original quote, and if it's not, you can plug whoever's it is.
Right.
But this is what I told her about this show. People that come on the show, we have fun. We're not scripted, not really. I have notes here that I want her to talk about and we want to share, but it's not like you got to read it. This is who we are. We're real. So we have fun on this show. My guys, my crew, my boys, that's the way I feel. We have fun. And let's talk about something that will make other people have fun. And that's the kind of crew that I have, and I'm very grateful for all my guys, you know, that help and are part of this team. Now, I said that to say this. You're doing all this wonderful, I mean, Lord, you get on Facebook and you see if you're a friend of Mary Rabelais, she's got wheelbarrows, she is hauling bricks, she's hauling mulch, she's working.
Yes.
Her, that's fun.
Right.
That would be work for me. And I would be totally confused, and I want to bring it back to the garden before we go to the next topic. The fact that you coordinated even the ice chest and the plants was not just throw them in something. You actually made something very beautiful. So we will be posting all that on Facebook. I think some of it's on there already.
It will be soon. It will be soon.
Now, so with that said, if you would have the chance to be able to visit her home, everything that she has is from older times, but yet they use it.
Right.
Anything in the garden, from herbs to vegetables, they use it. They have the ideal neighborhood that if you became part of her friends on Facebook, everybody thinks it's the new Mayberry, like the old days. People sharing and all that. So does everybody in the neighborhood share like you do? I mean, y'all have is it just a certain amount of people that do this?
What we have are friends that some are new friends, some are younger couples that are just moved in. Out of the group, for instance, we have one neighbor. He doesn't garden, but he loves zucchini. What he shares is he hunts. He has the deer processed into sausage. He in turn gives us sausage. We give him vegetable zucchini. Another one from his garden across from us, they will share with what they have with us. So really, there's probably about 4 of us over time have gardens, and we develop. One neighbor, young man, did a garden for the first time. Cabbage was huge, beautiful cabbage. We were the only one that wanted the cabbage, which he was shocked. He thought if it grew something beautiful, they would want it. Well, it's again, how do you prepare it? Some people say it's one thing. But it's fun because no matter, as one friend would say, we will always have something in our garden to share with each other. We'll always do jams and pickles that come from our gardens. And that is the old way of bartering. You know, we share with each other. One may have help with in landscaping. My husband was a TV repairman, technician, had our own business for years. So he would do some repair and help when it deals with something of that type. So it's bartering, but it's still friendship, because with that kind of friendship, you're not feeling like you're not taking advantage of each other. You're helping each other. And by being able to share your own talents, then for each of you, you feel good. I mean, you couldn't pay anyone, and you wouldn't be the same thing to do these things.
right now I can tell you that that neighborhood has grown, and every time I have friends who became her friends and they see everything they're doing and hear and see all these plate lunches that she's actually showing, and neighbor gave her this and this is how it's cooked,
Right.
and after it's cooked this is what it looks like. Everybody wants to move to Mayberry over there. But anyway, that makes you happy.
Yes, it does. Yes,
Okay.
it does, because you're busy, but in a good way. I think everyone has a talent. I met a lady once that she was walking around a flea market, and she came to check it out. And she's just like, I said, what you do is walk around, like even in a flower shop, in a garden center. People that are great cooks will usually go into a grocery store and they look around and they start creating from what they see. But it says you will all of a sudden see that you like a certain thing, maybe you like shiny things, maybe you like the old stuff. Then that becomes what actually is your of interest, and you play with it. You know, you just have fun with it. Keep it simple.
I'm listening to my sister, guys. Let me tell you, yesterday, I had a week of buttons being pushed and awesome things happening, and then things trying to take away the happiness. In between all of this, it didn't stop her from talking or from us visiting. And in between all this, she actually went and helped my son-in-law, things that I used to could do, but because of my heart problem, I can't do anymore. And she actually went and with my son-in-law and picked up a sofa and came back with tables and sofa and rearranged my little, I now have a seating area that looks good, and it made me happy just to look at that. But the memory is going to be
Right.
that the sister and my son-in-law did it, and they were so excited, and the woman that was giving it to me was just as excited.
Well, you-
So little things can make anyone happy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I personally, we're from a larger family, and not everybody chooses the same path, but I do things that make me happy, because if I'm making someone else happy, then it makes me proud to say that I love to see a smile on someone's face. It doesn't matter if anyone knows I helped put it there. It's just the fact that it's there.
Right.
Why? Because that's what I want. I want to be happy.
Exactly.
So as we were talking and laughing, and we come from a family of storytellers, we, not too long ago, lost a 102-and-a-half-year-old great-grandmother. Then our grandmother was around 96. And I'm telling you, we always had something to talk about, and we always had something to share. We always laughed. We would laugh until we cry. I can't really say we ever cried because we were sad when we were around them. So as she and I kept on talking about this, and I learned that I needed a guest, I just said, sis, I really think it would be great if we could just share how we're so different, so alike, and yet have done so many things. Now, moving on to the next thing, okay, so we worked at the school library. We were both telephone operators, okay? I now am the president of the Writing School of Acadiana, and I meet in a bookstore. You just recently retired how many years ago?
8 years ago.
From a bookstore
Exactly.
where you were featuring authors
Yes.
to come in and read, and you were actually encouraging people. So you had to know a little bit about, or a lot about, the book so you could recommend the right thing to each person.
Right.
Where I am blessed, where I get to actually meet some of the writers of the books, so I get to personally know them, and they give me their book, and sometimes I'm able to read the book or have to read the book to do anything justice for them. So that we have in common. So I'm now featuring, on this show, anywhere from music Hall of Famers, writers, retired people, ministers. It's just so many things that other people can do, and a lot of people are happy with what they're doing.
Right.
So as a person who's getting ready to retire, it doesn't mean you've got to die.
No.
You can stay busy, be happy. There's a lot of things at Acadiana Open Channel that you could sure do, make your memories, the audio and all that. Do something, be productive, even like us.
Right.
It's not often that Mary can come and spend more than 3 days because she has a husband who really dearly loves her, and I think it's been a limit of maybe 2 days, and actually we're on day 5.
Oh, I think we're getting close to day 7.
7. Well, I didn't want to exaggerate, but I thought so. And she's going home soon.
Okay.
So now with that said, okay, now we're both, she's my younger sister. She's 1 year younger, and she's also a grandmother.
Yes.
And I'm a great-grandmother and grandmother, and that's what we have in common. You want to brag a little bit about your grandchildren?
We have 2 grandsons. Boy, well, the first is 17, the second one is 15, and in the years when I first retired, they spent as much time as possible. I mean, it was a weekend they would be brought down by their father. We would go the day they got out of school to where they lived, picked them up, and brought them back. And even at 15 and 17, they're the same. They come, they know they have the same room, sleep in the same bed that their father slept in as a child. So, and it's become their room. They bring their awards, their jerseys, their trophies, and it's their room. So when they come in, they can relax. They're happy not to go anywhere. They just want to be there. And then when they leave, they always give me the biggest hug, as if they were little bitty children. So the age is still the enjoyment of coming. We've traveled with them. We visited them with them when they were very little, when they were overseas. We've had experience of fun with them. First time we brought them home, we decided to go down to the beach, and unfortunately the sand was very wet, and we got stuck in the beach, and we had to call I had to flag someone down to come help us. But it was exciting because the little one called his dad. He says, "What's going on?" I said, "We're stuck in the sand of the beach," and just delighted because it was an adventure.
Okay, sis, my turn.
Your turn.
Okay, and that's awesome. And so now I want to back it up and say, okay, reminder to the people watching this show. The most important reason for this show is because as she is talking, I'm smiling, I really am listening to what she's saying, but I'm also, all of a sudden my mind goes back to, not all sisters and brothers have the opportunity to really bond with each other while they're at home for different reasons. And there were 8 of us children, and everybody has choices of who they're going to visit with, what they're going to do. Right. But due to our choices, Mary and I have really bonded since she was 18 years old, and back and forth visiting, and our husbands and I, we would all get together for a short period of time until interests changed. But I'm thinking about that right now, Mary, and thinking, over just since 18 years old, we have memories from the past, but since 18 years old, we have remained and getting closer and shared. And I think you sent me a card that I wished I could have posted. We've cried, we've talked, we've shared, and we've discussed and all this, and the bond has gotten closer. But then I think about you, and I'm looking at you, and I'm thinking about grandmother Sudie Irby, okay? And you are the spitting image of her when she was younger, right? Okay, and I'm thinking about here we are. I won't say how we are because you don't really like telling people how you go, but I'm alive, and she's a year older. That part she loves. It's something that we bonded with. But what I want to say while I'm thinking about this, we're actually picking up the mantle, the storytelling, and everything that our grandparents passed down to us, our grandmother, great-grandmother.
Yes.
Okay, so here you are sitting here. We're sharing with people just a little bit, and there's a lot more to this story. We had a lot of interesting, great field trips, a lot of good memories. We've had trials, but we chose to come through trials. And with that said, Mary, I brought that up to say this, is that the time that we're having together now is even more important to me than the times we didn't have together.
Right.
And I think that people out there, if you've got a sister or brother, take time to know them now, at least call them, at least say hi to them. You don't have to have a relationship with them, but it's something that you can do that you won't regret. Unfortunately for my sister Mary and I, we've now lost our brother, a brother and a sister, right, that didn't allow us to really have time with them, but we're still blessed because we have brothers and sisters still in Shreveport, Louisiana, and just a phone call or a card, which she's very good at doing, the phone calling. Me, I usually stick the card in the mail. That's something that we need to do. So at this point in time, this show is bringing back memories, but we're ladies of faith, we're storytellers, but most of all, we're sisters, and we love being around each other. Now, the end of the show, believe it or not, is here, Mary. Right. And I'm going to have to close out and say thank everybody for tuning in to Louisiana Heartbeats. Tune in every Monday night at 9 p.m. It just might be you or Mary Rabelais coming back on. We just might be rocking. We might be crocheting, but most of all, we're going to be having fun. You said, remember?
To play.
To play. Yeah. Meanwhile, she's been a blessing. She has helped promote my books. I'm now a published author. She knows her stuff, and she took time to come out to an event, and now she's taking time to be on the show. And if you like what you hear, hey, let Acadiana Channel know. Maybe we could have her back in the future. Meanwhile, while the rolling credits are going, would you like to say something real brief? Mary Rabelais.
All right, if you're ever in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is definitely stop by, see what our little community has. If you're interested in seeing, be fascinating, the library's website is www.rpl.org. It will show you what our community and our libraries have to offer.
Thank you for being on the show.
It's been an honor. Thank you.